even just offering tobacco. Tobacco is another wonderful medicines that the Creator gave us to honor and respect Mother Earth and the Father Son. We put tobacco down for everything. We thank the Mother Earth for what we get. Like all these things, to a lot of people are things or plants, but there's medicines in almost everything you see around here. And this is how the Creator took care of us and took care of our people and showed us how to live and not to have to be in want of anything. And we didn't. We were never in want of anything because the medicines were there to heal us. The animals were there to feed us and clothe us. The trees there were there to shelter us. And that's how our people lived for thousands of years. Thousands of years. Until they were overcome by the people of Europe when they came over. And they took some of our hunting grounds. Our people always lived in a hunter-gathering situation. We were hunters and gatherers, and we had clans in our tribes. These clans were very large. They were all the clans of all your ancestors on your father and mother's side from way back in the past. So these are clans that you live together, and then you intermarried with the other clans as well, and but not your own clan. So when our way was taken away from us, I must go back. I got to go back a little bit. Our people lived as hunter-gatherers, but on a seasonal cycle. In the springtime, our people gathered at one central spot, and then went en masse with their canoes all the way down the Penobscot River, right to the coast. And along the way, of course, they hunted and made places to live. And so they would travel that way, and they would once at the seashore, they would disperse and go out on the islands and different places, and they would gather their food, and they would dry it and preserve it for the long winters that come, and they would bring that back with them. They would gather it, dry it, and so it was a seasonal cycle of gathering food to live. And so the fish, all the fish was utilized, and parts of the fish, the bones. Yeah, they smoked the fish. They definitely did that over and by. Anyhow, once the summer was over and they had gathered all this food, and they came all back again en masse, came back up into our ancestral, you'd probably call it headquarters, if you will, and there they would gather together again. I forgot to mention that they also planted certain agricultural things before they left in the spring. They planted different foods, and they used different tubers from the banks of the river that they used for potatoes. And peanuts, something like that, peanuts, the name of it. And this they used as the potatoes. But they would plant corn and squash and different things. We gave thanks for everything. Constantly, thank you, thank you. And that's what I do now. I do that. I do that in ceremonies. And when I do a ceremony, my first one is Kwe, and I acknowledge Gichinyu as the creator, the spirit of all things, the maker of all things that we have. And when I do that, after I do that, then I honor the sun that the Creator had made to preserve our earth. Then I honor the earth, which we call Mother, and we call the sun our Father. So we have a whole living entity here, and then we call the air and the water our grandmother. A lot of the tribal members calls our Creator grandfather as well. In their language, we call him grandfather. So there you have the grandmother, the grandfather, the grandmothers, the Father, Son, the Mother Earth, working together for the benefit of all living things that we see on Earth. They just keep everything going. But the humans are the ones who disposes and really spoils everything on this Earth with their garbage and all the wasteful things that we do as humans, you know. But for the Indian people, they never had that waste because they used everything they gathered. plus the inner parts of these animals they use as tools, plus the clothing from the furs and all this thing. But going back to the time where we arrived already back to the island again in the fall and had our Thanksgiving and our sacred prayers and our thanks to the Creator, then we dispersed to our different areas where our clans lived, and that was their hunting grounds. And each one had a hunting ground in different areas. And once there, they stayed for the winter. They had already had their food that they've gathered, but they need the strong fur of the animals that's there in the winter. So therefore, they went hunting in the winter. They went hunting for the moose. They went hunting for the deer. The bear, of course, sometimes they'd leave them sleeping because they knew they were making new life come in the bear families. So some of them honored the bear that way. They wouldn't harm the bear. And so all these clans, they would live that way and gather together. And then when they met together again, they could interchange things that one had more of, one had less of. They were able to bring it together and exchange things. So there was no need for, they didn't want for anything. And even the tools they made, they were shown how to make those. The tools, the material for the tools. So then after the winter, of course, then we're back in the winter and we're back going into the spring. It's very difficult to get around in the spring of the slush and the mud and all those things. So they would wait until part of the spring was, when the water went down a little bit. Then they were able to gather together again in this encampment, and there again we started the other cycle. But it was a complete cycle. The places where they were along the coast, in the islands and along the coast, those were their hunting grounds. When the settlers came over and found those unoccupied at different parts of the season, they thought they were there, there was nobody there. They thought that it was for the taking. And so they took, and in doing so, putting up their dwellings and the houses and stuff, it took away our hunting grounds. After a while, these people who built those things built a perimeter around their place and said, you can't step on this, this is my land. But in reality, it was never their land at all. It wasn't even our land. It's the Creator's land, the Great Spirit. You're looking for an Indian point of view of things. Our views are always spiritual.
Spiritual. 1. Having the nature of spirit, not tangible or material. 2. Of, concerned with, or affecting the soul. 3. Of, from, or relating to God.
No matter what we talk about, we cannot get away from the spiritual aspect of life. We always come back to it, no matter what. We can talk about a lot of things. We can talk about hunting stories, climbing the mountains, swimming, bicycling, doing whatever. But when we come back to the basic thing of life, it's the Spirit. The Spirit itself is what guides us at every step of our way, and takes care of all the people. So we have the spirits. We have the spirit of the Creator. We have the spirit of the Father Son. We have the spirit of the Mother Earth. We have the grandmother spirits of the wind that blows. They're so strong sometimes. Then gently. We have the spirit of the rain which falls on us and cleanses us. This spirit is also called the grandmothers. We have the spirit of just the air itself blowing. The spirit of the water which is so important. And the water is part of all of our lives, especially the women. And that is the Spirit, the Great Spirit within us as well. So, from my point of view, and my own personal point of view, and I think the Indian point of view, is the Spirit that's with us, with the father, the grandfather, the father, the mother, and the grandmothers, is one word, and that word is love. When the world knows how to use love, and to be able to give love, receive love, and give love back, then we'll have a better earth. USA, universe, creator of all life. So with that, I've given thanks to the creator of all things in the universe.